people who identify strongly with a particular political party in the two major party system, like in the United States of America, believe that most or everything that their party does or stands for is basically right, correct, good, and appropriate, and that most or everything that the opposing party stands for is wrong or bad. The same, quote, us versus them attitude is also directed towards prominent members in each political party and party leaders. Republican supporters believe that the Democrat Party and leadership are immoral, arrogant, nihilistic, stupid, dronish, or sometimes criminal, while believing that members of the Republican Party are righteous or right or good, and have the people's overall interests in mind. While Democrat supporters blindly believe that their party is basically on the right side, and believe that members of the Republican Party are stupid, incompetent, ideologically wrong, vapid, and at times criminal. This false left-right paradigm prevents people from seeing that the leadership at the top of both major political parties is controlled by the same private interests. The Illuminati own both horses in the race, so to speak, as was pretty clearly illustrated in the 2004 presidential election, when both John Kerry and George W. Bush were facing off against each other for the presidency, and both are members of the ultra-elite Illuminati branch, the Skull and Bones Society. The Skull and Bones Society is real. Look that up. It was on 60 Minutes a number of times and exposed as a secret society of control. George W. Bush, the one who calls himself a, quote, Christian, which he is not even a little bit, is part of that demonic organization. Skull and Bones is an offshoot of a famous, or should I say infamous, Illuminati. This is not just mere conspiratorial supposition, but verifiable stuff. The man credited with founding the Illuminati in 1776, Adam Weishaupt, wrote, "By this plan we shall direct all mankind in this manner, and by the simplest means we shall set all in motion and in flames. The occupations must be so allotted and contrived that we may, in secret, influence all political transactions." He continues, "This can be done in no other way but by secret associations, which will by degrees and in silence possess themselves of the government of the states, and make use of those means for this purpose. The order will, for its own sake, and therefore certainly, place every man in that situation in which he can be most effective. The pupils are convinced that the order will rule the world. Every member, therefore, becomes a ruler." Check this out now. Quote, "I shall therefore press the cultivation of science, especially which sciences as may have an influence on our reception in the world, and may serve to remove obstacles out of the way." Maybe Darwinism can be attributed to this. "Only those who are assuredly proper subjects shall be picked out from among the inferior classes for the higher mysteries." Natural selection, okay. Higher evolutionary order, we see, okay. "And in particular, every person shall be made a spy on another and on all around him. Nothing can escape our sight. By these means we shall readily discover who are contented and receive with relish the peculiar state doctrines and religious opinions that are laid before them. And, at last, the trustworthy alone will be admitted to a participation of the whole maxims and political constitution of the order. In a council composed of such members, we shall labor at the contrivances of means to drive by degrees the enemies of reason and of humanity out of the world, and to establish a peculiar morality and religion fitted for the great society of mankind. Now analyze it honestly. This is what's up. High-level Republicans and Republican presidents are the right foot of the Illuminati, and Democrats are the left foot. One foot takes a step forward, then the other, and the process is repeated as the 2 feet work together to move the Illuminati forward to accomplish their goals, of which both conservative and liberal politicians are secretly aiding. This is why we find politicians and presidents whose actions are completely contradictory to their party or the promises they made on the campaign trail. Bill Clinton, a supposed liberal moderate, passed the toughest drug laws and anti-rights of the accused laws and draconian Megan's Law and anti-welfare and safety net laws, with Dick Morris whispering in Clinton's ear like a viper, and also tried to pass the Communications Decency Act, which tried to suppress certain kinds of material, and especially erotic material on the internet. Such anti-liberal laws that Alan Dershowitz, who voted for Clinton twice, was so disgusted with, and with Clinton and his anti-civil rights rampage, that Dershowitz wrote numerous articles bashing Clinton for being a dino, a Democrat in name only, and was actually being more conservative in many ways than both Reagan and Bush Sr. combined. No joke, no exaggeration. George W. Bush, a supposed conservative, increased government spending more than all previous administrations combined, where George Will, who voted for W. Bush twice, denounced him for being too liberal domestically, Bush's foreign policy and boner for Saddam Hussein notwithstanding. And while W. Bush continuously talking about keeping America safe from terrorists, he refused to increase border security and denounced the Minutemen who voluntarily patrol the U.S.-Mexican border as, quote, vigilantes. Barack Hussein Obama, while supposedly a quote liberal, doubled down on many of Bush's foreign policy actions, such as with Gitmo, bombing foreign nations, murdering unarmed terrorists, and saying, oh, but it was not an assassination. Yeah, O'Reilly agrees. And spying on American citizens, and acting power-hungry just like Bush did, etc., etc. Where many liberals, such as Jeremy Scahill of The Nation magazine, bashed Obama mercilessly, which at least shows remarkable consistency on Scahill's part, and not just being a blind Obama supporter such as Ed Schultz or Chris Matthews or Lawrence O'Donnell or Joy Behar. The owner of the NFL, the National Football League, couldn't care less which team wins the Super Bowl each year. It doesn't matter to the NFL puppet masters one iota which team wins, because no matter which team it is, the NFL higher-ups make money. The Illuminati is the same way when it comes to politics and the economy and religions. The President of the United States is like a manager at a fast food restaurant. He seems to be the one in charge, and the one who takes the brunt of customer complaints when they reach him. But this restaurant manager is merely working for someone who the customers will never see or never hear about. The fast food manager is working for the franchise owner. Just as the President of the United States is simply a spokesman, even if he's not even totally aware of it, who is carrying out the orders and agenda of his greedy boss, which remains unseen by the public. The same is true for the Prime Minister of Great Britain, America's closest ally. An unseen boss rules them. And this boss is, of course, the Illuminati, who has an even higher boss over it, Satan the devil, the ruler of this crazy and corrupt world. Wake up. In mind. While Democrat supporters blindly believe that their party is basically on the right side, and believe that members of the Republican Party are stupid, incompetent, ideologically wrong, vapid, and at times criminal. This false left-right paradigm prevents people thinking that their party does or stands for is basically right, correct, good, and appropriate, and that most or everything that the opposing party stands for is wrong or bad. The same, quote, us versus them attitude is also directed towards prominent members in each political from seeing that the leadership at the top of both major political parties is controlled by the same private interests. The Illuminati own both horses in the race, so to speak, as was pretty clearly illustrated in the 2004 presidential election, when both John Kerry and most people who identify strongly with a particular political party in the two major party system, like in the United States of America, believe that most or every party and party leaders. Republican supporters believe that the Democrat Party and leadership are immoral, arrogant, nihilistic, stupid, dronish, or sometimes criminal, while believing that members of the Republican Party are righteous or right or good, and have the people's overall interest